Hi and welcome. This tutorial is to walk you through some of our science databases. In fact, this one is going to be focusing on Access Science. There's a tutorial following this looking a little bit more at another database called Academic Search Complete. But these two databases really support your work, again, in science. Academic Search Complete covers a lot of topics, but also to help you get into some resources that you need for this particular course. You need some peer-reviewed research articles, and the library databases are, that's what they're there for, is to help you get those. So if you haven't yet gotten a library card, you'll need to do that. I have an earlier tutorial that walks you through how to get a library card. The reason you need to get a library card is all the databases I'm about to show you, if you're going to access them off campus, your library card number is your way to get into these. Other than that, they're restricted to BMCC students, staff, and faculty, and your library card number is your ticket in. So, so watch that, get your library card if you haven't yet, and we'll get started. So to get to our library homepage, if you haven't been here yet, you just start at the college homepage, bluecc.edu, and click on Library. Once you click on Library, it will take you to our page. And we will scroll down, and we're going to look at our library databases. All the databases I'm going to show you can find here in our top library databases. In fact, you'll probably spend most of your time here as a student. But I also, as you can see, have some specific for different areas. So we're going to go straight to Ag and Science for this subject area. And in this tutorial, we're going to look at Access Science. In the next tutorial, we're going to look at Academic Search Complete. So we'll start here. Access Science. Access Science is it's a pretty fun little database. It gives you lots of different options for how to look for information. You can look by content type if you want to start there. Like, you know what, I really just want some media information. I am giving a presentation. I need some visuals to use in that presentation. I need some media to back me up on that. You can use it for that. If you just want some brief info, certainly you can do that. In our case, we will be spending our time looking for articles. So that's one way you can search. There's, of course, a big wide open search box, which is what we're going to do today. But you can also browse by topic. There's also some fun explore issues too. You can explore like what's a briefing. Some briefing they have apparently on this particular algae being a huge issue. You know, some articles focused on particular subject areas, neuroscience. Looks like some articles in astronomy, and great also videos as well, and also just news reports. News reports, you know, are really fun. They kind of can get you excited about a topic, and usually that's our first way of learning about something, right? We hear about it in the news, we hear about it from a friend or, you know, a colleague or a family member. News is fun that way, and then from there we dig in to do a little bit more research behind it. And they also have, you know, these fun little trends here, you know, that people just have to be doing a lot of work on. So depending on your topic, you can start really specific. You can also start broadly. I guess a really specific topic could be, say, butterfly migration. Maybe you're interested in that. Oh, I just saw something come up. So 5 results on that. Oh, you know why? Because I spelled it wrong. How unhelpful. Got kind of spoiled with things correcting my spelling for me. Okay, there's some more results. I thought 5 was few. But see, again, we're very specific here. We're looking at a really specific topic. In this case, it looks like it's getting us to monarch butterflies. So there's only 15 results. Pretty streamlined because of how specific our question is. But one thing you can do right away is it limits just articles. So we're already there. If you, for some reason, wanted to look at a specific issue, like say, you know what, I'm really interested in this, but I'm curious, there's a health sciences issue related to butterfly migration. Fascinating. You might want to narrow in on that. But again, since our search originally is so narrow, you might, I mean, 15 is pretty comfortable amount to browse through, I think. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this first one. And some of the things that we're looking for in a peer-reviewed journal are actually kind of presenting themselves right here. This is handy. One thing you're looking for with a peer-reviewed journal article compared to a regular news article, for example, is peer-reviewed journal articles are articles that are originally written by the scientists themselves. It is their case study, their analysis, their research. It's going to include things like an overview of the topic. It is going to include things like their hypothesis. What was their methodology to answering the question within their hypothesis? What did they do precisely to try and answer that question? Was their science at a level where it wasn't muddied by anything, so they could get the answers they were seeking? And often it wraps up with their findings and maybe other directions for further research on the topic. So some of the things you're looking for is kind of an article that's structured just how I described. But one of the other key things is looking at who are the authors? Who are these people? And that, in this case, says itself right here. We see that we have a Christine Merlin, a Roger Gagir, and a Stephen Ruppert. I'm guessing on how to pronounce her names. But you're seeing these are not just anybody. These folks all work at the Department of Neurobiology at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. It's not just I don't know, an everyday person. And that's kind of what news articles are in some ways, right? News articles, we could certainly look up news articles on the monarch butterfly migration, and we'd probably find things in like Time magazine or National Geographic or, I don't know, California Tourism even, because that's where most of that migration takes place. But those articles tend to be written by journalists, reporters. So they haven't actually done the scientific research usually, but they're just telling that story to the general public, and which is great because it can be, again, that great way where our interest is piqued into a subject. And as students, as scholars, you'll are given the opportunity to dig in a little bit more on the research with these primary authors. So again, here's the article, so if you can scroll down. Some of the things that the database does, and most databases do, is they have some tools that I want to point out to you, since they're right here. One of the most helpful tools is their citation tool. I'll just click here. And for this class, for science, you use APA. So you'll click there. For my research, what I normally do is I'll have my research window open where I'm doing my actual finding my articles. I also have a second window open, just like a Word or a Google Doc. And if this was an article I wanted, I would immediately copy and paste that into the Word document so it's there for me. I don't have to think about it ever again. I just do it right away. And then if I end up not using it, that's fine. Then I hit the delete button, in my Word doc. If I do end up using it, by the time I'm ready to submit my paper, I have a pretty well structured bibliography going, or works cited sheet going, and I just have to tweak it a little bit for the format. So again, sciences using APA. If you're in COM 111 and doing a speech on this issue, an informative speech, say, also APA. MLA you use in the humanities or in your writing courses. So, but just so you know, you can email this to yourself, print. There's some great sharing features as well. So a lot of ways to access this article. They also show some related articles. They also point out, which is really handy, some relationships to some primary literature. Primary literature is also considered usually that scholarly research. It's primary, that these researchers have done the primary or first look at their particular question or this research. Secondary literature, again, is those articles. So secondary, they didn't actually do the research themselves. It's secondary because they're just reporting on the research. I hope that wasn't too much. So as we scroll down, pretty good. These are short articles. You might have to look in a little bit more to see if, again, here's some links to the primary literature. These are the ones that are definitely going to be scientific, which is nice. You'll see these active links here, and I want to point this out to you. This is, again, similar authors talking about, antennal circadian clocks coordinating sun compass orientation and monarch butterflies. Isn't that just amazing? I mean, how do they know which way to fly? Well, there might be some sort of time clock in their antenna that relates to the sun and is their compass. This is from Science magazine. So I already know what's going to happen when I click here, but I want to show you. I'm going to click here, and it's going to take me to Science magazine, which is great. It's going to give me a summary of the article, and maybe I'm really interested. Of course, I want to view the full text. They're going to charge me. So my reason I want to point this out to you is, even though Science magazine would charge you for this, we as a library can get you any article you want. So if this is an article you wanted, you would take this information, this whole citation, copy and paste it in an email, and send it to one of our staff here at the library, even just actually to that library@bluecc.edu email. And what we'll do is we request it from another library somewhere in the country, and they send it back to us. It takes, 2 business days usually, but they email it to us, we email it to you. It's sitting in your email inbox in like 48 hours quite often. So if you run into something where A, it makes you pay, 1, don't pay, we can get it for you. B, don't let it deter you from looking at an article that really might make the difference in your paper. Especially if you're going on to a university, you'll probably be doing this a lot. So, it's no big deal. Just compose an email, say, "Dear library, I'd like this article. Can you get it for me?" We'll respond back and say, "Yep, we'll put out a request for it." So it's just that easy. So plan ahead, give yourself a little bit of time in your research. Of course, if you're doing it the night before, it's not going to help you. But again, we can get you anything you want. So don't hesitate to ask. So again, we did a pretty specific search. I just want to show you a more wide search. So let's do something like invasive species. Right, really a much more broader topic. I mean, we're writing a big thing here, invasive species. Well, what do we mean? We can talk about invasive species with plant life. We can talk about invasive species with animals. We can talk about invasive species with certain environments, like invasive species in riparian environments, invasive species and, agricultural crops. So you might, start with this, but you might find yourself quickly narrowing down by adding something like, and whatever your topic's interested in, or in this case, 4 species. So, but again, you might want to browse. Since there's more content here, there's more things to click limit by. So article, image, subject area. So if you want to look at invasive species specifically in, say, zoology versus botany, you can do that. Kind of cool. I know for sure we want an article, right? Because we need to find peer-reviewed articles. So you could just do that as well, and then narrow further. Again, similar thing, the definition remains, but the articles are below. So if you want to look at marine transportation and the environment. Again, pretty substantial looking author. He's from the Department of Civil Engineering at the Georgia Institute of Technology. Probably has an idea of what he's talking about. Again, same thing. Article. This looks a little bit more in depth than the last article. And you can see where they cited and this link to another resource. So yeah, but it's just really kind of playing some time, thinking about your topics, thinking about your phrasing. If you're not finding anything, really contact somebody in the library or talk to your instructor. Sometimes the smallest change in a word can make all the difference. So the databases are really precise, but it's not like Google where you can just type in anything and get a response. It requires a little bit more, thinking within the subject to get what you want. But once you do, man, it makes your life a lot easier to get some great resources. So that's Access Science. Our next tutorial is looking at Academic Search Complete. Academic Search Complete is awesome for finding peer-reviewed journals, and you'll use it all the time. So even more so than Access Science. So we'll take a look at that. All right, thanks, and please contact the library if you need any help. Okay, take care.